This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back to the second hour of our program. Thom Hartmann here with you. The government might shut down on Friday of this week, another big thing in the news right now. And the reason why is because of internal dissension within the Republican Party, and in large part, and also because there's a large enough contingent of the Cokehead Caucus. They call themselves the Freedom Caucus. I call them the Cokehead Caucus. There's a large enough contingent of them that in order to pass a budget, if they insist on putting toxic stuff into it, like, you know, destroying Obamacare or destroying public education, you know, the agendas of Mick Mulvaney and Tom Price, thank you very much, and Betsy DeVos, respectively, that if they do that, that they won't get the Democratic votes that they need in the Senate, because it's going to take 60 votes in the Senate to pass a budget. So my guess is that probably what they'll do is they'll do a continuing resolution for a couple of weeks to get past the 100th day of Trump's presidency. They don't want to embarrass the president. Friday is the 100th day of his presidency, either Friday or Saturday. I'm pretty sure it's Friday, but it's one or the other. Is it Saturday, Chris? Yeah, okay. It's Saturday. Chris says, okay, it's your birthday. Cool. Great way to remember things. And, you know, they just, you know, they don't want to do that to him. So my guess is that they'll just do a continuing resolution and say, you know, we're going to push this out a couple more weeks. But if they don't, then there could be a government shutdown coming. And in part, it's because the Republicans keep insisting on this toxic stuff that they can't get 60 votes for in the Senate. Now, one other possibility is that Mitch McConnell could do away with the filibuster for legislation in the Senate, which is something, frankly, that I think Harry Reid should have done in 2009, when right after Barack Obama was inaugurated president. We would be a very different nation right now had Harry Reid done that. But he didn't, and it wasn't, and I suspect that there's, you know, in McConnell's office, I mean, his popularity is so low already that they're sitting around talking about this, and we'll see how this plays out. But at the core of this, there's two steps that have to do with the budget. And they both have to do with taxes on rich people, because this is the particular obsession of the Republican Party, because the Republican Party is and has been since the 1870s the party of rich people, exclusively. It has, you know, now certainly that's at their core, right? Make the rich richer, make the poor poorer. Now, they've brought into the tent enough other issues, like, you know, put women in jail if they have abortions, or, you know, let's toss more black people in prison, or, you know, drugs are going to fry your brain. They're evil things, you know, blah, blah, blah. They, you know, these so-called, you know, be afraid of gay people. These so-called social issues that Bill O'Reilly was so good at, that Fox is so good at smearing this stuff across the American mediascape. The right-wing hate radio just does, you know, an excellent job with that. They pick off these single-issue people constantly and build this coalition, this Republican coalition, so that it has become essentially identity politics. That is, you know, I'm a Republican because I believe in a strong military, you know, and, you know, not realizing that what that means is more money for billionaire defense contractors, for example. And when you get a few Republicans who are saying, like Jason Amash in Michigan, who say, hey, wait a minute, you know, when did we become the party of war? You know, the Republicans used to refer to World Wars I and II as the Democrat Wars, because they were both, you know, prosecuted by Democratic presidents over the opposition of Republicans, something most people are blissfully unaware of in the 21st century. But in any case, here comes this train wreck, where the Republicans are saying, you know, we want to look out for the billionaires, and the Democrats, and thus reduce taxes. And you've got the tax fairy coming along, right? You know, Steve Mnuchin, the new Treasury Secretary, formerly of Goldman Sachs, came right out and said, you know, these tax cuts on billionaires, he didn't say on billionaires, but, you know, it's implied, these tax cuts will pay for themselves by stimulating economic activity. The fact of the matter is, not only has that thesis never been proven since Ronald Reagan first asserted it in 1981, never been proven, But the opposite has been proven. When Bill Clinton raised taxes in '93 and Newt Gingrich predicted a Great Depression, we created 23 million jobs and had the biggest economic boom in the second half of the 20th century. In part because he raised taxes on rich people, which provided government with the means to expand things like basic science research that leads to things like NASA and the internet and new drugs. Yes, the basic science research is not done by corporations. They don't want to do that. That's too risky. You know, look at drugs, at pharmaceuticals. The vast majority of new types of pharmaceuticals, in fact, I would say virtually all of them have been government funded through the National Institutes of Health and National Institutes of Science. What the drug companies pay for is, okay, we've got this very profitable Prozac pill that was developed, by the way, with money from the National Institutes of Health. We've got this very profitable selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor antidepressant. Let's figure out how we can, but it's going out of patent. So instead of selling it for $10 a pill, we're going to have to start selling it for $1 a pill. So how can we tweak one molecule, you know, throw a carboxyl group on it or throw a hydroxyl, you know, attach an atom of hydrogen to it. Just change it in some small way so that it still has the same biological effect. Doesn't produce worse side effects, but we can call it a new drug. That's the money that the drug companies spend on so-called research and development. So anyhow, all this is a long way of saying that, you know, the Republicans are saying that they want to cut social programs. They want to do away with Obamacare. They want to cut taxes and cut taxes on billionaires. And it doesn't get more explicit than Warren Davidson. He's a Republican representing John Boehner's old district in Ohio. And he was asked right up front by a woman in a town hall, you know, are you going to destroy Obamacare? And his answer was astonishing. Here it is.
Under Trump Care, one of the major ways to make health insurance affordable is to bring back catastrophic insurance, which is basically no insurance at all. Given that preventative health care is the #1 way to keep people healthy in our society. Can you explain why my son and millions of others in his situation are not deserving of affordable, decent health care that has essential benefits so that he can stay healthy and continue working? Yay!
Okay, Congressman.
Okay. I don't know anything about your son, but as you described him, his skills are focused in an industry that doesn't have the kind of options that you want him to have for healthcare.
He works in fast food.
So I don't believe that the taxpayers here are entitled to give that to him. I believe he's got the opportunity to go earn those health benefits. The majority of Americans earn their health benefits at work.
Right. So, Mom, your son can, you know, is working at Burger King or wherever he was in fast food. And he doesn't get health care benefits, and so he just, you know, needs to get a job as a CEO or maybe a member of Congress, right? This kind of callous indifference to the lives of Americans is absolutely characteristic of the Republican Party. It is part of their catechism. It is built into their DNA. It's part of their religion. The Republican Party has become, over the last 140 years or so, has become the party of the sociopaths and the greed heads, of the right-wing billionaires and the transnational corporations, of the libertarians and the objectivists. The party of people who believe that if you're not, you know, that if you're rich, it's because God blessed you and you're a good person, and if you're poor, it's because you're suffering from moral failings. That is their belief system, and you see it writ large in their policies. And occasionally, somebody like this guy Warren Davidson, the congressman from Ohio, comes right out and says it. And you know, hey, lady, you know, yeah, her son was on Medicaid. See, and what she was saying was basically, if you Republicans do away with Medicaid, because he wasn't making enough money to qualify for Obamacare, he was making too much money to qualify for, you know, just the state Medicaid. So he was on the federal expansion of Medicaid that Ohio did under John Kasich. And she was saying, you want to do away with that? You're going to wipe out my son's health care. He was like, tough luck. Get a better job.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
This is bizarre, but this is the Republican Party in the United States. Back with your calls.